Mr. Alan Dershowitz, good evening, and thanks very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Mr. Dershowitz, when was the last time you spoke to Jonathan Pollard?
Oh, it's been quite some time. I spoke to him regularly when he was first arrested, during his appeal, when we were trying to get clemency from President Clinton and then subsequent presidents. I've been trying to help him for the last 30 or 35 years, and finally, after all these years, it appears that he's a free man and he is able to travel to Israel and live out his life with his wife in peace in Israel, where he's always wanted to go and where he is now a citizen. It's been a long, long struggle, and justice has been delayed, and yet finally it's been achieved.
Let's go back to the moment when Pollard is told he's now free, a moment for which he had hoped and fought for 5 long years. You've talked to his family and friends. Can you walk us through his response in that moment, his feelings?
I have not spoken to his family and him when it happened. I have spoken to him before, and I know his wish was to be free and go to Israel. Freedom came twice. Once when he was released from prison after nearly 30 years of unjust imprisonment. Remember, he made a deal to get a relatively short sentence in exchange for pleading guilty, but the government broke that deal. And finally, he was freed 5 years ago from imprisonment. And now, after 5 years of parole, he's being freed from all government regulations. So I'm sure it was a very good Shabbat for him. He was very happy. His goal has always been to go to Israel and live out his life there.
Jonathan and Esther wish to come home to Israel, yearn to come home. They talked about this miracle. Can you tell me today that Jonathan would be here in Israel by Hanukkah?
I would hope he would be. There are technicalities, obviously. He has to get passports. He is both an Israeli and a U.S. citizen. He has to make sure he satisfies coronavirus restrictions, and there are probably some other technicalities, but my hope is that he will celebrate a bright Hanukkah in Eretz Israel. That's his hope, that's his goal, and I share that goal with him.
Are they preparing for a visit or for Aliyah?
I think his goal was to make Aliyah. I know that that's been his wish for many years, but I can't speak for his current point of view, but he's always said he wants to make Aliyah and live out his life in Israel.
Would you say this is a humanitarian issue or a political issue in the U.S.? Where do you stand on that matter? I'm trying to understand whether President Trump is behind the decision to lift the restrictions. Was he involved?
It was purely a humanitarian issue. On the political issue, he has lost all the time because the Secretary of Defense, Caspar Weinberger, was against him. The head of the CIA, George Tenet, was against him. Prosecutors were against him. So politically, he's lost. He got this freedom in a humanitarian way. I personally believe that President Trump might well have intervened had the parole authorities turned him down, but it wasn't necessary. The parole authorities finally applied the rule of law and applied the same rule to Pollard as they have applied to other people. And so it wasn't necessary to seek commutation from President Trump. But my own personal view is that President Trump might well have been sympathetic to a request to commute his parole and allow him to go to Israel. But we didn't have to reach that issue.
Mr. Dershowitz, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you. You too. Bye.